Shall Prevail in the End by Amethyst Unarmed. Read by Kaiinbed. The final part of the Truth series. Relationships include DabiHawks. Additional tags include Good Parent Todoroki Rei, Emotional Hurt Comfort, Implied Reference Abuse, Implied Reference Child Abuse, Happy Ending. Summary. I know it's not the nicest meeting place, Rei admits, tucking her hair behind her ear. Natsu stares at her, seemingly dumbstruck, and Rei pushes forward. I wish there was somewhere else we could go, but... What? No, it's okay, Natsu says. It's not that, it's just... Listen, you're going to have to trust me, even though this may seem scary. Oh, Natsu. You're going to give me a complex. Surely I'm not that scary. The former Pro Hero Hawks practically appears in the corner of her room, casually leaning against the windowsill, like he isn't one of the most wanted men in Japan. Or, Hawks meets his mother-in-law, decisions are made, things come to an end. Rei spends her evenings, as is her habit, staring out the window and people watching. She looks outside and gazes down at the people in the street and imagines the lives they're living. The man in the rumpled business suit is running to buy flowers for a missed anniversary. The schoolgirls who walk home together every day have been friends since they were children and have secretly planned each other's future weddings. The older woman with the no-nonsense bun has been working overtime to finally get the promotion she deserved 5 years ago. Creating stories for them, it makes her world just the tiniest bit bigger. She has been spoiled, she knows. She has gotten used to Shoto's visits, gotten used to the weekly meetings where her son sits in her presence and actually seems to enjoy it, even if he doesn't say so out loud. Shoto has always been a quiet boy. Sometimes his visits consist of the two of them reading next to each other, never saying more than hello and goodbye. But it was comforting, sitting with her boy. She knows it isn't safe for him to visit anymore. He mentioned his teacher's hesitation to let him come at all during the visit where he had said goodbye. But still, she is terribly lonely. As a result, she can't help the little flutter her heart does when a nurse tells her her son is here for a visit. Shoto was able to come. The nurse looks over her clipboard and shakes her head. No, he said his name was Natsu. The flutter comes again, and Rei naively lets herself hope. Natsu is here. Surely she can't be this lucky. Surely the nurse will realize her mistake and tell her that, actually, it is Shoto who's here, because Natsu doesn't visit her. Natsu had hated her even before she had been sent away, hated both her and Enji for their roles in Toya's death. They had barely spoken before she was placed in the hospital. The nurse misunderstands her disbelief. Her face softens in sympathy. You don't have to see him, she tells her, like Rei would ever turn away one of her children, like she hadn't learned from her mistakes. I can tell him you aren't up to visitors. No, Rei says, louder and more desperate than is polite. The nurse startles, pulling back from Rei like she thinks she'll be attacked. Rei pulls herself back, hunches her shoulders, makes herself meek. She knows where her reputation is, even so many years after the incident. She's not going to let it be the reason she is kept from Natsu now. No, she repeats slower, softer. Send him in, please. The nurse nods, unsure, but she leaves, presumably to go and get Natsu. Rei supposes she'll have to take it. One more concerned incident report on her record doesn't really matter, now when Enji is never going to let her out regardless. It's all worth it, if she gets to see Natsu again. She nearly begins sobbing when he appears in the doorframe. He is so much bigger than she remembers. Fuyumi had shown her pictures, and Rei had known how much taller he had gotten, but it's different, seeing him in person. He has Enji's presence, large and broad, but Rei is pleased to find that she feels none of the fear that is so interwoven with her thoughts of her husband. Perhaps it is the way he is holding himself, his nerves evident in his stiff shoulders, and the shy hand he has tucked behind his hand. He makes himself small in a way that is all too familiar. Hi, Mom, he says, stumbling over the word like he is unsure of how to pronounce it after all this time. How are you? Can I hug you? She says without thinking. Shoto usually needs to be asked. Some days, he can't bear to be within reaching distance of her. It is better to have permission than to see the echo of a toddler's terror on his face. Natsu's eyes widen, and Ray prepares herself for disappointment. He takes a deep breath, and Ray braces herself. Of course, Mom. He holds out his arms, and Ray nearly falls into them. She distantly wonders if this is a dream, a fantasy she has conjured up since the truth was too painful. But no, she never could have imagined this feeling. Of the child she had last been able to carry in her arms, now so tall she had to stand on her tiptoes to hug him. She never could have imagined the way it makes her stomach swoop, so disorienting she nearly feels motion sick. She never wants it to end. But of course, it does. Natsu pulls back and gently squeezes her shoulders before saying, "It's so stuffy in here. Let me open the window." The tenseness comes back to him as he goes to do it. He taps his hand anxiously against his leg as he walks up to the window, glancing left and right like he expects something to jump out at him. Ray tries to ignore the burning shame she feels. She knows the hospital can be uncomfortable, can inspire paranoia. "I know it's not the nicest meeting place," Ray admits, tucking her hair behind her ear. Natsu stares at her, seemingly dumbstruck, and Ray pushes forward. "I wish there was somewhere else we could go, but..." "What? No, it's okay," Natsu says. "It's not that, it's just... Listen, you're going to have to trust me, even though this may seem scary." "Oh, Natsu, you're going to give me a complex. Surely I'm not that scary." The former pro hero Hawks practically appears in the corner of her room, casually leaning against the windowsill, like he isn't one of the most wanted men in Japan. "Todoroki-san," he says, striding up to her with the grace of a crane driving through the water. "It's an honor to finally meet you." He bows and offers her a smile she is sure would be downright charming if it wasn't for the fangs. Ray isn't allowed to watch the news. The hospital considers it to be a possible detriment to her health, and she had been told multiple times that it would cause her too much stress. Still, she hears the nurses talking. She had heard about Hawks' defection, about the way the hero world was reeling. She hadn't really had an opinion about it before. She could tell that Fuyumi was more scared when she visited, and that Shoto had been stressed out before his visits had ended altogether. But it hadn't really affected her personally, so she had pushed it from her mind. Now, though, she realizes she had vastly underestimated just how much pro-hero Hawks had changed. She had been in the hospital during Hawks' initial debut, but she had still seen him often, on billboards outside the hospital, and advertisements on the few approved channels in the common room. A few years ago, Fuyumi had bought her a fashion magazine to look through, and she remembers seeing Hawks, shirtless, red wings flared like a righteous angel, hip bones visible above his low-rise jeans. His cheekbones had been highlighted, his lips dewy with some kind of gloss. She doesn't remember the product they were selling, but she remembers the image vividly, shocked at the boldness. Fuyumi had turned bright red and had quickly turned the page. Looking at Hawks now, she wonders if he had even been out of his teens yet. Because Hawks is far younger than she thought. He is short, shorter than even her, and slight. The larger-than-life, airbrushed hero from the ad campaigns is long gone. In his place stands a predator, one whose gaze makes her skin crawl. His hands are tipped with long talons, golden feathers grow from a peaked crest on his forehead. His feet are entirely inhuman and nearly grotesque, scaled with bumpy yellow skin and even longer talons that click on the tile floor of her room. A long fan of tail feathers nearly dusts the ground behind him as he walks. He wears a sleek black bodysuit lined with red like a poison dart frog's stripes. Every inch of him screams danger, and it makes her heart kick into overdrive. Ray skitters backwards, unconsciously trying to get as much space between them as possible. Hawks' eyes track her every movement with violent precision, and Ray stumbles with fear. Natsu catches her, and she flinches at the touch, and is relieved when he instantly snatches his hand away. It's okay, Natsu assures her. His voice is calm and even, despite her obvious anxiety, and Ray wonders if this is the voice he uses with his patients. He's going to be a great doctor. She knows it. She is so proud of him. Hawks is a friend, I swear. He just has something to ask you. Me? She stutters. She turns back to the villain in question, Surprise overrides her fear. What could you possibly want with me? Hawks hums, tilting his head like he is thinking through the best way to say it. I suppose you could say I'm looking for your blessing. I am marrying one of your sons after all. Ray glances at Natsu, who is staring at her with those observant eyes. He is cataloging her every move and filing it away in that big brain of his. Hawks doesn't break eye contact with her either. His is a more lackadaisical attention, projecting utter disinterest in her very presence, like he hadn't risked his health and his freedom to talk to her of all people. Ray had been practicing this. Natsu wasn't the son she had expected to use it on, not with how Shoto had been circling the discussion of his friend Midoriya, but hopefully it would work well enough for Natsu too. Thank you for telling me, she says, as soon as she processes what he is saying. She fears pausing too long and her son thinking for even a second she isn't supportive of him. I love you, and I'm proud of you. I will always support you, no matter who you love. I know with your father, this couldn't have been easy, and Natsu freezes up. His face turns blotchy and pink. I'm not, well, I am, but it's not. Hawks jumps in. Actually, I'm here to ask about Toya. And surely Ray couldn't have heard him right. She feels distant, off kilter in a way she remembers often from the early days of her tenure at the hospital. I'm afraid you have the wrong person, she says. The words sound like they are coming from someone else entirely. My son, Toya, is dead. Hawks doesn't falter. What if I told you he wasn't? Ray can't let herself believe it. She knows it will destroy her if it isn't true. She looks at Natsu, desperate, and he nods. It's him, Mom, I'm sure. Toya is alive. Ray's knees give out. Mom! Natsu yells as she sags into his arms. Oh shit. Hawks curses, composure failing for the first time this encounter. Is she alright? I'm fine, Ray protests, pushing away from him to stand on her own 2 feet. Her knees shake a little as she regains her footing, but not enough for Natsu or Hawks to say anything. When can I see him? He may not want to see you, Hawks says bluntly. He was only considering it last I checked. You didn't ask him before doing this? Hawks raises his eyebrows at her. He would have said no, no matter what. Now that sounded like her Toya. I'll wait for you to ask him then, she says. He may never want to see you. Ray's heart clenches at the idea of Toya being so close but unreachable. But that's fine too. He's a terrorist, Hawks tells her, picking his claws as he does it. His tone is blasé, like he is remarking on the cut of her impatient clothes, and Ray rubs her ears instinctively to make sure she could hear him correctly. I am too. It's a bit of a freelance position, you could say. Hawk smirks. We're not leaving anytime soon. That doesn't matter. He's a murderer. He's killed innocent people. That should matter to Ray, but it doesn't. She says nothing. Hawks looks over her, appraising. He looks worse now. His skin is practically melting off of him. If you think that's enough to stop me, you are sorely mistaken. Hawks crosses his arms. If I take you to him, to the base, you won't be able to leave. Not for a long, long time. Can you do that? Can you give up for Yumi and Shoto? Ray squints at him. Hawks remains a blank slate, but Natsu. She loves her son, but he was never a good liar. He nearly always caved when he, Toya, and Fuyumi were scheming. And now, Ray can see the same telltale apprehension from when they were kids. He is tapping his fingers against his arm again and biting his lip. He glances between her and Hawks like he is trying to judge their reactions. He used to do the same exact thing with her and Toya when they were trying to sneak Shoto out of his room. That's what gives it away. You have a plan to get the two of them involved, don't you? Hawk sighs, and the cool collective villain persona slips off him like the sheen of an oil slick. He glares at Natsu, but is more exasperated than angry. Really? You lie to the cops all the time. Dude, it's my mom! Natsu hisses, and Hawks rolls his eyes. He turns back to Ray, and she can practically see the gears turning as he thinks through what he is going to say. Yes, we do have a plan for both of them, but, Hulk stresses. I am not guaranteeing it will work. Abducting. He puts air quotes around it. You will increase the eyes on them, but Natsu and I agreed that we needed to get you first. What do you mean? Hux levels her with a steady stare. He straightens up, nearly bringing them eye to eye. I know what it's like to be stuck in a cage. Ray purses her lips. It's not. NG paid for the best care possible. Hux gives her a knowing, haunted look. An expensive cage is still a cage. Ray swallows, ignoring the recognition she sees in him. And you're offering something different? Hux nods. Despite the appearances, this isn't a kidnapping. If you don't want to come, I won't force you. And I promise you, even if Toya doesn't want to see you, we will find a solution you are happy with. No one will be making decisions for you. Not about this. And well, Ray can't say that is the luxury she is afforded here. No one has asked what she wanted in a long time. Not since her parents came home and told her she was engaged to a man she had never met. It is almost overwhelming, this possibility of choice. She turns to Natsu. And you trust him? With my life, Natsu replies with zero hesitation. Hux grins at that, seeming nearly touched by the confidence her son has in him. And the confidence is all she needs. Okay, I'll go with you. Hux beams, and it is brilliant like the sun. I was hoping you'd say that. He needs this, I think. Toya. She's going to see Toya. And he needs her. Her heart feels like it is going to burst. And maybe, Ray offers, turning back to Natsu, bolstered by the soaring joy in her chest. I can meet your person too? She hadn't forgotten his blush, or the he Natsu had mentioned earlier. Natsu gives her the tentative smile she remembers from when she had first agreed to let him join the school soccer team, disregarding NG's denials. I would really, really like that. Not to hurry this along, Hawk says, looking honestly regretful at interrupting. But we can't have much longer before someone notices I'm here. Natsu nods, his face grows cold and serious, a solemnity she doesn't recognize shrouding his features. It is hard to reconcile this driven man with the silly boy who used to intentionally fumble cartwheels to make his siblings laugh. She's missed so much. Never again, she tells herself. Hawks has given her a chance to live again, and she is going to grasp onto it with 2 hands however she can. I'll join you once they release me, and I'm sure I don't have a tail, Natsu says. Can't imagine Endeavor will actually care enough to give me a protective detail, but who knows what he will do to try and keep up appearances after this. Hopefully we'll see you soon then, if your brother and your boyfriend don't murder me for this. Hawks glances around the room, before his eyes land on the vase on her bedside table. It is the one glass item Ray is allowed to have, and even getting that was a struggle. But NG kept sending flowers, so eventually the doctors just gave in to his will. It is a sentiment Ray is all too familiar with. Hawk sends a few of his feathers to grab it and weighs it in his hands. This should do. Wait, what's going on? Ray says, frantically looking between Hawks and Natsu. An image is forming in her mind, one she really doesn't like. It's okay, Mom. It was my idea, Natsu tells her. Can't have me getting arrested for assisted kidnapping, right? This could really hurt you, she says, and Natsu gives her a sad smile. It's worth it, okay? You are worth it. Toya is worth it, he doesn't say. But Ray hears it, and can't help but agree. Then he turns back to Hawks. You going to be good to carry her? Hawks scoffs. You're the one who cleared me to go back in the field. Believe me, I don't need my top speed to escape a bunch of orderlies. We'll be long gone before any actual threats get here. Good. Natsu takes a deep breath, in through his nose, out through his mouth. Do it. The vase doesn't shatter when it collides with the back of her son's head. It just makes a horrible, hollow thud that sends Natsu to his knees. No, the vase doesn't break until it falls to the ground. The last gift NG had ever given her, shattering like stardust across the floor of her bedroom. Natsu groans, and Ray runs to him, slippers crunching on the glass. Even Hawks looks hesitant. Natsu, buddy, you good? He asks, even as he gets closer to the window. What are you doing? Natsu slurs, clutching the back of his head. Fucking go! And that is clearly all the permission Hawks needs, because suddenly a hardened feather yanks around Ray's waist and pulls her into a bridal carry in Hawks' arms. She blinks, and they are outside. The hospital that she has called home for the past decade fading to a small speck below her. The air whips through her, tearing her hair about in wild tangles, and Ray wishes she had thought to put it up before they started flying. Hawks banks sharply to the right, and Ray can't help but whoop with joy as her stomach jolts at the altitude changes. It is better than any roller coaster she can remember, and the adrenaline makes her giddy. I see Toya doesn't get his motion sickness from you, Hawks comments with a wry grin. NG always used to get sick during limo rides, Ray replies primly. The driver used to keep paper bags in his glove box. Hawks barks out a laugh, and Ray can't help but giggle with him. I think I'm really going to enjoy having you around, Hawks says. Ray smiles up at him, her cheeks already aching from the unfamiliar expression. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing. Dabi wakes up slowly, easily pulled out of sleep by talons gently scratching along his scalp. He hums at the sensation. It is one of the few ways he can be woken up without setting the whole damn room on fire, and he tries not to look at that too closely. What's going on? He'd been taking a nap after the stakeout he'd been on with Toga last night, surveilling a possible safe house for the commission president. Dabi had been trying to get some sleep during his off shift, but Toga and quiet have never really been synonymous, even when she tries. Everything's okay, Hawks assures him, talons continuing to trail through his hair. Dabi knows the social grooming soothes Hawks as much as it relaxes Dabi himself, so he doesn't bother pretending to make a fuss. Dabi stares up at Hawks, eyes squinting with concentration. He's got a great poker face. Dabi knows this, but Dabi has only gotten better at reading him in the time they have lived together. His feathers are the slightest bit more puffed up than usual. The hem of his sleeve is torn and the thread is frayed, like Hawks has been systematically tearing it apart. He hasn't started stress gripping yet, but Dabi can tell he is feeling the urge by the way his tendons are flexing in his hands. What's wrong? Nothing, Hawks says, far too quickly. Dabi glares at him, and he immediately deflates. Okay, fine. So, he pauses, flexing his fingers. I may have gotten you an engagement present? Dabi raises an eyebrow. You mean other than the ring? Because I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to be the ring. He sits up so he can show Hawks the black metal band on his ring finger. It was some rare metal alloy used in rocket engines, and with a high enough melting point that even at his hottest, Dabi wouldn't even get close to destroying it. Dabi has absolutely no idea how Hawks managed to get his hands on it, and to be honest, the fact it was probably stolen from a government facility just makes him love it more. It was such a sweet gesture, Dabi had gagged. That was the only reason he had gotten choked up, no matter what Toga says. The pleased little shrill Hawks made when Dabi had accepted his courting gift, or whatever the fuck, had been adorable, though. Like we've ever done anything traditionally. Hawks says, his words speed up as he goes, falling out of him in an anxious tizzy. And, I was really excited about it, but, the more I thought about it, the more I realized it may have been a little much. Like, I can't return it or anything, but we can figure something out if you don't like it. I just don't want you to hate me. Slow down, pretty bird. Dabi has no idea what sort of gift Hawks could have gotten that would make him act like this. Take a deep breath. He takes one, as an example, and guides Hawks' hands to his chest. He's been having more panic attacks recently, so Dabi has gotten familiar with grounding techniques. Mukai thinks it's due to him finally being in a safe enough place to actually process just how fucked up his life was. But neither Chi nor Natsu are psychologists, so who knows? Hawks manages to match his breathing to Dabi's, managing a few near normal breaths. I'm sure a gift isn't going to make me hate you. Your mom is in the common room. Static fills Dabi's brain for a moment as he processes those words in that order. Dabi hisses as an involuntary spray of sparks shoot down his arms. You had better be joking. And if this is a joke, it isn't goddamn funny. Hawks offers him a cheap plastic smile. Surprise! Fucking hell, he's serious. Dabi can feel the bed sheets beginning to smoke beneath him. You've got to be fucking kidding me. In my defense, it was half Natsu's idea. Oh, don't worry. I'll be kicking his ass for this later. Dabi assures him. He doesn't like the guilty look that brings to Hawks' face, but he's too goddamn angry to give a shit. He kicks the sheets off the bed and away from him, detangling himself so he can get the fuck away from Hawks before he burns him. The idea of burning him in anger makes Dabi want to hurl. What the fuck were you thinking? I was thinking you wanted your mom at the wedding. Hawks thankfully stays on the bed, but he is using his de-escalation voice, like Dabi is some frightened civilian he needs to calm down. Dabi would rather they just scream at each other. Why would you think that? Because you asked. What? Now Dabi knows he's full of shit. When the fuck did I ever ask you for this? The night I proposed. The first time. The real time. Not when Hawks had given him the ring. The first night they had laid in bed together after his injury. The night Hawks had declared he actually wanted to tie himself to Dabi. Forever. No takebacks. You said you wanted your mom to be there. Leave it to Hawks to take a fucking daydream and pull it into reality. Dabi can feel fire flaring in him. Smoke exhaust heaves through his lungs and pours out his nostrils. But at least he hasn't set anything on fire. I was joking. Were you? Hawks asks. It's not judgmental or sarcastic. It is 100% serious, and the decisive consideration stops Dabi in his tracks. The fire extinguishes without the rage to fuel it. Dabi shivers in the rapid chill of its departure. Tell me you were joking. Hawks continues. Tell me that, and mean it, and I will take her away right now. Dabi swallows. He stares down at his hands, so he doesn't have to look at Hawks. I didn't say I wanted her there. You did. I remember it. I said, Dabi interrupts. I wanted her to be happy to see me, and you can't. She will be. You don't know that. She doesn't know what She does. Dabi whips his head to Hawks so fast, he nearly pops a staple. What? I told her about you, about us, about what we do. Not all the gory details, but the murder. The systematic dismantling of society as we currently know it. Even had time for a few stories on the flight back. I made her pick, and every time she chose you. I would never have brought her here if I hadn't known with every fiber of my being, every feather on my back, that you were her choice, Dabi. That can't be real. That can't be the truth, because Dabi knows what Toya is. He is intimately familiar with the little fuck-up he used to be. Remembers the things he had yelled at his mom, terrible things he had honestly meant. He remembers her eyes glazing over and looking right past him. He remembers the way she had flinched away from his fire, and he cannot fathom a universe where she wants him. But Hawks clearly can, and trusting Hawks had become as second nature as breathing. Dabi stumbles over the words. I don't even know what to do. You can talk to her. You can tell her to fuck off. You can ignore it, and I'll make it like it never happened. Hawks shrugs, like it is actually that easy. Don't think about her, or Natsu, or me, or anybody else. Do what you want. That's the whole point of a gift, isn't it? Hawks is so eager, so genuine, like what Dabi wants is the most important thing in the world. Maybe to Hawks it is. So, Dabi forces himself to say it. I want it. The words are garbled, shoved through gritted teeth. I want it so much. What do you want? It is an honest question, and Hawks waits patiently as Dabi forms his response. I want to kill Endeavor. I want to burn Hero Society to the ground. And none of this is new, but he walks back to the bed and sits at Hawks' side. He takes Hawks' hand in his own. I want to destroy that world, not just because it fucked me up, but because it tried to kill you. I want you to never have another nightmare because I have destroyed everyone who's ever starred in them. And Dabi hesitates to say the next part. He's never told it to anyone before, but if anyone deserves to see it, deserves to know him fully, and judge every ugly bit, it is the man in front of him. I want to live. I want to live past this plan and get to marry you because I will have a whole life to spend with you. It wasn't in the cards before. Dabi always thought he would succeed in his goals, thought he would be able to kill his father with the very quirk he bred into Toya like a prized show dog. He just always thought he wouldn't need a plan beyond that. And he thinks Hawk sees it, because he melts into Dabi. presses his lips to his temple. I want that too, Hawks admits. He leans forward, resting his head in the crook of Dobby's shoulder. It is not as firm as Dobby's declaration, merely a whisper into Dobby's neck, with his face hidden, but Dobby hears it all the same. When I got the assignment to infiltrate the League, I thought that was it. Either you all would discover me and kill me, or a hero would uncover what I was doing and think they were taking out a traitor. And it was comforting. I know, Dobby says. Because he does. He really, really does. It's not anymore, Hawk says. His breath is warm and wet against Dobby's skin. The condensation prickles against his scars. I want to marry you and grow old with you. I want our family to buy a ridiculous house and fight over the best bedroom and get so, so bored because we have nothing to do. A world where we have more free time than we know what to do with. I want to live. And because he wants to, Dobby pulls Hawks to his lips and kisses him languidly, like they have all the time Hawks so desperately wants. Then, I guess we'll have to do it, Dobby says, breaking the kiss. He stands, pulling Hawks up with him. I believe you had a present for me? Hawks lights up, feathers fluffing with delight. Are you sure? You really don't have to. I want to. He squeezes Hawks' hands, warming it up just enough for Hawks to feel it. Lead the way, pretty bird. And as Kegel opens the door to the common room, Sawyer realizes he would follow him anywhere, even to the goddamn altar. He can't think of anything better. You have just finished listening to Shall Prevail in the End by Amethyst Unarmed, the final part of the Truth series. If you enjoyed the story, please leave them some feedback on archiveofourown.org/work/53417071. And if you enjoy my reading of the story, you can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Kaiinbed.